Round, 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 look around, and you will see. Talk about round, round. Look around, and you're gonna see. Round, round, look around, and you're gonna see. That's how the world is meant to be. So many points of view about the world. The paradox is how we each think the world should be. But I think we're all unique in this world. Look around, round, round, and you will see. So many perspectives on the world. There's not just one way to believe. We're all unique in this world. Look around, and you will see. Rainbows have so many colors and hues, and trees aren't always the same shade of green. And you and I are unique. And if you look around, you'll see what I mean. Round, round, look around. Talking about around, round, look around. Sometimes, do you feel confused? I know I do. Do you wonder where you fit? And does the world seem awfully big? And do you wonder how you're gonna make sense of it? Let's see the world through the lens of love. I love that. And let's be kind. We're all unique in this world. That's how we're gonna make it through and be fine. Talk about round, round. Gotta get around, look around and see. Round, round, listen close. This is how the world is meant to be. Round, round, get around, look around and see. We're all unique. This is how the world is meant to be.
Join me in prayer. There is but one God, one life, and that life is my life. The gift from God, and I am living it now. Spirit, that thing that is in and as each and every one of us, ever present, at all times, every situation, person, place, or thing. I was reminded as I drove back into Colorado this week of just how beautifully blue Colorado's sky is. It individualizes itself not only in nature, but in every person. And I am reminded of our spiritual connection. I know that this day, as we take a look at the paradox mindset, that life's experience does give us up, down, left, right, yes, no, good, bad. And we have passion in our thoughts and our beliefs, which are truly temporary. And as I go through life, I know and understand I do not know. And I understand that that is the basis of forgiving and forgiveness. Going within for where the right mindedness exists, guided like a GPS. Spirit is in me and in everyone else, our divine right. And I am supported spiritually not only with this community at New Dawn, also guided by Reverend Jenn Wilde, who leads us this day to say the words I need to hear, maybe to hear what is not comfortable, and to remind me that it's all love and spirit. As we are supported in this community by the AV team, the music, Karen's voice, the helping hands that get the service together, our hospitality, this wonderful building, and supported energetically by people who join us online at another date or time at their convenience, whether you're in this room, seated in one of the seats, walking in nature, or sitting on your sofa with a cup of tea. We come together now in love, in unity, for our highest and our best. I'm grateful to be able to say these words, knowing they are true, spoken into the divine, and unfolding for everyone's highest and best. I can release and let go, knowing it is done, and if you will join me by solidifying that thought and feeling, together we say, and so it is. Medium. A mind paradox is a metaphor for a spiritual awakening of consciousness. Every apparent true human thought can be disproven by yet another thought. Realization is felt by letting go of our control to find ultimate truth. And from A Course in Miracles, lesson number 138. In this world, heaven is a choice. We believe there are alternatives to choose between, thinking all things have an opposite we choose. If heaven exists, there must be hell, for contradiction is the way we make what we perceive and what we think is real. And from our founder, the honored Dr. Ernest Holmes, from the Science of Mind book. Willpower contradicts the foundation of mental science. We use a creative power that does not need to be urged or forced into action. Its nature is to act creatively upon the images of thought that we impress it with. Imagination is creative. The will is directive. We do not create energy. We distribute it to transform one energy into another, allowing creation to work through the divine law of enfoldment.
So it is a brand new month, and we have a brand new theme for this month, playing with paradox. And I just love it when we get some of these talk titles in there that I think I'm going to have to go off and be all super intellectual. And then as I do my research, I find out that's not quite where it's taken me after all. So this week, we are looking at the paradox mindset. So let's just talk about that for a second. A paradox is a statement that seems to go against common sense. Now, let me just say this about common sense. It's not that common. But this is telling me that it's a statement that kind of goes away from maybe the collective consciousness, what the majority thinks it should be. It seems to go against it, but it could still be a true statement. A statement that, despite the logical sound, may lead to conclusion that seems senseless or self-contradictory. Now that we know exactly what paradox is, we're going to get into this talk and talk about it. So here's the question that I would ask today as we go into this time frame and as we start looking at what we're going to do this next week to get a really good grasp on this is, what if there was a way to embrace all contradictory ideas? What if we didn't have to pick sides? What if we could let go of the concept of I'm right and you're wrong, and just allow all of the aspects and all of the angles to be existing at the same time? And the truth is, we already can do this. This amazing thing that exists up here in between our ears, this thing called a brain, a mind, has the ability to just kind of look at it and not have to make a judgment call. And we have been convinced through much of our lives that we do have to make a judgment call. And that if I'm doing it right, let's say loading the dishwasher, and you don't do it like I do, then let's say you're doing it wrong. And the truth is, there are a bazillion ways to load a dishwasher, if you are one of those people who still uses a dishwasher. Anyway, so we can develop this paradox mindset. We can hold these multiple ideas at once. And when we do this, when we allow ourselves to do this, we find solutions to problems. In fact, sometimes we discover there really are no problems. We're just processing. We're just looking at it differently. We're just gaining a new perspective. What a concept. I love that idea. And through going through this, we can make our lives better. We can have more rewarding experiences. We can have more rewarding connections. And through that process, we are supporting a better world. So I have a quote here from our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes. He says, "The riddle of the universe is a paradox. The question is its own answer. For the mind that asks the question is also the mind that answers it." How interesting and how beautiful is that idea? So as we continue throughout this time of the year with our theme for the year has been living out loud, we can look at this and we can look at this from a playful exploration. Because if I stand here and tell you, you got to be really serious about this, and I want you to go home this week, and I want you to just do everything you can to really get it, most of you are going to object to that. So I'm going to just say it this way. Let's be playful with it. Let's play around with it. Let's see what it means and see what we can acquire from it for our own self-purpose, for our own self-understanding. We know this. Paradoxes are a normal part of life.
And the more that we can embrace this truth, the more that we can find the solutions for the major problems that we have been dealing with. We want to tap into those wonderful things that we have, those wonderful characteristics like vulnerability. We love to be vulnerable, don't we? We love to let others see that there might be some sensitivities within us, that we may have some challenges, we may have some things that maybe we don't want the world to see, and we don't want to reveal them. So that's where the vulnerability piece comes in. And then curiosity. What if what you're saying doesn't quite make sense to me, but I can take it and explore it a little bit further? Get curious about it and find out what it means to me. And that's exactly what we want to do. Once we have deepened our own ability to play in paradox, we can apply this thinking to so many other aspects of life. And we can learn this idea of leaning into paradox by bringing relevance to the idea of creating that world that we keep talking about that works for everyone. There are naysayers out there that say that we can't create that world, that nowhere, no way can a world exist where everyone is taken care of. That's called lack consciousness. Because if I think I can't feed everyone on this planet, I'm not paying attention to what we have available to us on this planet. If I'm thinking that we can't create a world where everyone is respected and loved, then I am looking at life from a perspective that just isn't necessarily serving me and the greater good. I'm not saying it's a wrong concept, I'm just saying we might want to look at it a little bit differently. So for some of us, this is kind of a stretch, but we're going to get into it a little bit more. Another quote I have here from Ernest Holmes. He says, "What we must avoid, however, is the confusion which arises from a belief in final revelations, from the belief that all truth is at last discovered, or that some one person or some one system of thought has delivered the last word. There are no finalities in any science, any philosophy, or any religion." Now, I discovered something this week. My dog Lotus always has the last word. I hadn't thought much about it, but it's been more noticeable recently, and I will say something to her, and as I turn to walk out of the room, I hear this oof, just this woof sound. And I looked back at her the other day, and I thought, she's getting the last word in here. She's a pretty smart dog. So when we talk about that last word, what we're saying here and what Holmes is saying in this is we don't have to believe that it's all already been figured out, that all of the truth is here, that all of the discoveries are handled, that everything is, oh my gosh, it's arrived, and we've arrived. No, there's so much more to this life that we live and so much more that we can do. Again, I talk about this almost every week. Holmes was a very strong spokesperson about being open at the top. Taking a moment and looking at something and going, so why do I think that's wrong? Why do I think that's a bad thing? Why am I judging that? And what does that really mean to me? And could I embrace an alternate idea around this? I always say I don't like to live in the world of what if, but as I was processing that this week, I thought, that's the world of what if. What if this person has an idea and I haven't considered it? We've been in those sessions before where we do brainstorming. Back in the corporate America days, for me, it was, we'd get up there and everybody throw out all these ideas and we put them on a board, and no idea was crazy. No idea was crazy. No idea was to be shut down in that brainstorming session. And then after we got a whole bunch of ideas, and we started looking at which ones seemed to be kind of similar and which ones could lead us to whatever outcome we were choosing to find. And that's how things are created. That's how something new comes forth. We put together ideas from the masses, and we take them and we put them all together, and then we look at, okay, where can this take me? What does this mean? We believe in oneness, that we're all one, that we're all connected and that we are all of source. And yet, we continue to see suffering in this world. We believe that the infinite and the finite are one and the same, and that our mind is an individualized expression of the one mind. And yet, all of these statements require a paradoxical mindset, because to some degree, they're contradictory. And when you go into that place of logical, rational mindset, we have a tendency to find those very easily. So the thing is to think about here is that we never have all the info. That's why they call it, what do they call it? 20/20 hindsight. It's like, what did they? That's why they call it 20/20 hindsight. As soon as you've passed through it, all of a sudden you have 15 more ideas that you could have possibly engaged in, and you didn't think about that before because you didn't have all the information. And so here's one of the things I want to say here, but this isn't really a part of this talk, but I'm going to say this right now. Every decision you ever made, every action you've ever taken was based on what you knew in that moment. You didn't do it wrong. You didn't make a mistake. You made the decision that you had the capability to make. Stand up, brush yourself off, know that it is whatever it was, lessons learned, and move on. But we get stuck, don't we? We get stuck and then we're afraid. We're fearful of making a decision. We're fearful of taking that next action. What if this one ends up like the last one? Well, it can't possibly, because you're not that person today. So the thing I want to talk about is kind of getting away from this idea of this mind chatter. How can we be one when we were all so uniquely different from one another? Our culture, color of our skin, our belief system, sometimes our language. Sometimes people talk with what we call an accent. Are we still even allowed to say that anymore? And we look at all, and we catch all these differences, and we fail to see all of the similarities. And so we get stuck in this oneness thing. I was walking on the Santa Fe Trail this past week with my amazing dog Lotus, who gets the last word all the time. Anyway, and I'm walking along, and I can see all these footprints on the trail. Massive amounts of people have walked this trail before me. Many will walk it after me. But what I noticed in the footprints was they were all going in the same direction. And I'm thinking, this is oneness. And how great it is that we didn't all do the trail the same day, because that would have been a little bit uncomfortable for all of us to try and be there at the same time. So again, as we look at that oneness, let's take our attention this week and look at the similarities and the fact that we are divine beings having a human experience. We are of source, and we are all of that same source. Spirituality is not a head game. It's a heart game. However, I have known many, many individuals, and we see and hear evidence of this from time to time, who got into a philosophy, who got into this idea of spirituality in their brains. They are translating, they are deducting, they are judging, they are making all these decisions, and it's all happening up here, and it's very heady. But the spirit that is God, that lives within me, is here in my heart. And that's the place where we want to go this week with all of this, is if I'm in my heart right now, am I going to see this differently? Am I going to be able to expect it? Am I going to be able to embrace it at a stronger level because I'm allowing, I'm willing, and I'm in my heart? Another quote from Ernest Holmes. Here's what he says: we need to develop a good-natured flexibility. Oh my gosh, flexibility is to be good-natured. I get to bend, I get to move, I get to adjust. We need to develop a good-natured flexibility. Nature demands this. For if the tree did not bend before the wind, it would break. We are apt to hold our thought so static that it finally becomes a habit, which destroys not only our mental happiness, but also the spiritual influx. Wow. How are you holding your thoughts? Because your thoughts have to do with your belief system. How strongly are you holding onto it? And how's it working for you? Because sometimes we keep beating our head against the wall and life isn't working, and we keep going down the same path over and over again, and we back up and we run forward again, and it's the same thing over and over again, and we can't figure out what's wrong. We can't figure out what's not working the way we want it to work. And the shift must come from within, from within. So the word paradox comes from the Greek, which means para, which is contrary to, and doxa, which means opinion, contrary to opinion. Now, just because it's contrary to opinion doesn't tell me it's wrong. There's some phrases I want to share with you that have to do with paradox. Light and dark. We have a belief that those are opposites. However, the truth is that dark is the absence of light. It's not the opposite. But we know that one of them cannot exist without the other. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. Well, that's an interesting concept. If you don't risk anything, you risk everything. Again, that takes us to that willingness to be open, that willingness to reconsider, to think, well, maybe there's something I've been missing here, and I need to listen, and I need to pay attention, and I need to delve into this a little bit deeper. God is conscious and matter simultaneously. Well, this one, this is where the brain goes, oh my gosh, wait, what did we just say? We just said God is consciousness and matter simultaneously. We believe and profess all the time that God is all there is. God is all there is. God is everywhere present. God is in all things. Therefore, the chair, the car, the tree, the blue sky, God is in all of this. And God is consciousness. God is that awareness, that energy that we can tune into. And again, that power that each one of us has access to use. What an incredible way to look at life and to look at our part and the part that we play. The human mind is designed for either or thinking, either or. Either or. If I can't, I have to pick one. I have to pick one. It can't be. And I have started moving into the space, and I've been working on this for a while now, of all of the above. All of the above. Why do I have to pick one? Why can't I find a way to do all of the above? Maybe I can't have all of the above right now this second, but I can gear it so that I can still have all of these choices and interactions, and I just have to pace it out over time, because I am kind of a being that shows up in kind of a linear fashion, and so it's not, I can't be 5 places at once. I've tried, and I haven't mastered that yet. But when I do, I will be sure and share that with you. Back in the days of our ancestors, it was important to quickly be able to tell if any movement out of the corner of your eye was the wind blowing the leaves or a tiger about to pounce. There was just that much opportunity for someone to be taken by surprise. Now, however, the both and thinking is more relevant for us because it's what we need. It's necessary for us to solve the problems. Because too often I think we have considered that if I'm going to win, if I'm going to have this, if I'm going to be successful in this, somebody has to lose. And yet, that may not be the right mindset for how I go about accomplishing what I want to accomplish. So just real quickly, I'll tell you a story that many of you probably know. In the 1970s, Southwest Airlines was founded with a revolutionary idea. They looked at the concept of what it took to load a plane, to board people on a plane with assigned seating. We've been doing it for years. You had your little ticket, it had your number, it told you even what level you were in when you could board the plane. But in the 70s, Southwest Airlines decided that we're going to open the gate, they're going to board the plane, and they're going to sit wherever they want to, and let's see what happens. And they started to discover that they had less challenges with getting out of the airport area to get off the runway on time. That boarding the plane wasn't the most insane process that was going on with a lot of other airlines. We, the people who bought tickets, were managing it all on our own and getting on the plane and sitting where we wanted to sit, and nobody got into a fight, and it wasn't a struggle, and it wasn't a problem, and it was expedient. A simple shift, a simple idea that came forth in the midst of, but that's not how we do it. We've always done it this way. Would have loved to have been in that board meeting, because I'm sure there were a whole lot of disgruntled looks like, you want to do what? But it was such a simple process. The Herb Kelleher, who was the founder, thought that his system was a great example of the paradox mindset. He believed that equality and putting his values first would benefit not only himself, but an entire airline and anyone who chose to fly with them. And back in the 70s and 80s, it was a kick to be on Southwest Airlines. I haven't been on one of their planes in a while, so I can't speak to it today, but it was a lot of fun. And they played games. We threw toilet paper back at each other. I mean, they were doing things differently. They were making travel enjoyable and a little bit out of the ordinary. Rumi tells us this: in order to understand the dance, one must be still. And in order to truly understand stillness, one must dance. Again, it goes back to that, for me, that mindset that says, if I pray that life is always good, always joyful, always happy, how will I know? Once I move into that arena of everything being good all the time, if I don't have any little negative hiccups, if I don't have any little challenges to look at, if I don't have anything that kind of brings me back to reality, how am I going to know I'm having such a great time? It's necessary. It's important. So all major mystical traditions have recognized that there is a paradox at the heart of the journey of return to origin. Put simply, this is that we are already what we seek. I'm looking for something and it's right here. I'm already it. I already have it. I'm already accomplishing it. So we're encouraged through all of this to think for ourselves. Make the decision that works for you. That's why we teach the way we do in this philosophy, science of mind, is to allow everyone to come together and say, well, that didn't work for me, but that almost works for me, and this idea does work for me, and you choose. You choose. We don't have a checklist that says, oh, no, you went off on your own on that one. That's not going to work. No, that's not how we do this in this philosophy, in this belief system. The journey and all of its different ordeals are an emanation of the one spirit, and it's manifesting in everything in multiple dimensions. Every rung of the ladder we climb toward final awareness is made of the divine stuff of awareness itself. Divine consciousness is creating and manifesting all things and acting in and as all things in various states of self-disguise throughout all the different levels and dimensions of the universe. That is a little excerpt from Andrew Harvey, who is a British author. So we want to think for ourselves. We want to make the decisions that work for ourselves. We want to consider the paradox and how we can look at this and hold both ideas at the same time. And we want to move beyond conditional thinking. And I like that because conditioned thinking helped me grasp it better than paradox did. Maybe it's words with X's in them. I want to be challenged by them. So in this month's Science of Mind magazine, our brand new licensed minister, Kelly Robbins, has a little article in here that is about moving beyond conditional thinking. And I just want to share a couple of comments that she makes in here. She says, understanding yourself and having a personal relationship with the divine changes you. When you came to this philosophy and you didn't know that you were of spirit, you didn't know that you were divine, you didn't know you were of source, if in fact that's where you came from when you entered into this idea. And that moment in that time, you didn't realize how much you were going to change. I was in this philosophy for probably 6-7 years. I was talking to someone one day, and I'm listening to what I'm saying, and I'm thinking, where in the heck did these words come from? I was speaking a different mindset. The language that I use today is not the language that I was using 40 years ago. Some of it is, but most of it is not. I adjusted, I shifted, I changed, so did you. And as I mentioned last week, the challenge for many of us with that is when we start to change, a lot of our family members are going, wait a second. What is that place you're going to? What is this stuff you're learning? And they try to reel us back in. She also says the ability to see beyond conditioned thinking is a lifelong skill and the key to knowing your true self and deepening your connection to spirit. The goal is to see circumstances and events as they are, not as we think they need to be. How often have you seen it out of whack? I was going to say wrong, but I didn't want to use that word. How often have you seen something and you construed it to be something that it wasn't? Because we're trying to fit it in to what we already know. And again, take a deep breath. Let it go and just go, okay, well, so I don't know what this is, so what is this? And allow ourselves to move down that path into that idea. I have a quote here from Dennis Merritt Jones. He says, if you want more of whatever it is you desire, you have to first prove to the universe that you are capable of having it by developing a consciousness that affirms that there is no shortage of it. Wow. The only way to do this is by creating a vacuum or space for it to be received. And the only way you can create a space for it to be received is by letting go of what you do have. Trusting that the universe knows what it's doing, that's the law of circulation in action. So as I was working through this week and doing some research and finding this out, I found this amazing book. It's called The Paradox of Generosity. My friends, this is where we get hung up. This is exactly where we get stuck. And when I say the word generosity, it has to do with a lot of things, but the place where I think we get stuck the most is money. How can I believe in abundance and prosperity and give away this money knowing that if I do, I can't pay the utility bill? How can I possibly help someone else out when I recently lost my job and I don't have any idea of where the money is going to come from to make the car payment? What can I do when the car breaks down and I'm 70-something years old and I don't really have income and money and savings to purchase a new car? What am I going to do and how's that going to work? I bring up that example because I happen to have a friend who is in that very situation, and a friend of hers decided it would be a really great idea to go create a GoFundMe page, and guess what? Money's coming in. That paradox of generosity is about me wanting to help you, about me wanting to give to you. It's about me seeing the guy on the corner with a cardboard sign, or the lady with, Lord, she had 5 kids, all surrounding her, and she's got a little sign. It's when I pass them, freely taking a 20 out of my purse and giving it to them and not worrying about if they're legit, if they're telling me the truth, are they really hurting? Do they really need this money? I take that whole decision-making process out. I give that to God, and if there's 20 in my purse, it goes out the door. Why not? So in that place of being generous, we cannot possibly give freely if we believe in lack. Because when you believe in lack, you're telling the universe there's not enough. There's not enough. And the more you say it, the more you look at your checking account, and the more you see that there's not enough. Because the universe is responding to your thought. The universe is responding to your belief. Oh my gosh, this person doesn't think there's enough. I guess we're going to show them some examples. That's when you make a $600 mistake in your banking system, and it's like, whoop. But the truth is, there's more than enough. And the truth is that when we look at this idea of giving, we look at this idea of being generous, it's not just about tithing. It's about giving freely to the organizations that support us, where we are spiritually fed. It's about taking that mindset and going, wait a second, somebody just bought me lunch. That's $22 I did not have to spend. I could tithe on that. I could give some of that back. I could give $22 to the church if I wanted to, simply because I didn't have to spend it, right? So in this place, I wanted to close today with this whole idea that of what we are looking at and what we are believing about our money. Because where did it come from to begin with? Money is God in action. It came from God. It's God's money. God has always been my CEO, and as far as I'm concerned, God has always been that entity that signs my checks. Because if I operate on that mindset, I can go anywhere I want to create income. I can go anywhere I want to support other people because I know it's coming from God, and God doesn't have the wherewithal, I don't know if that's the right word, the mindset that says, oh, yesterday she wanted $5, today she wants 5,000. Oh, what's going on? No, Spirit's like $5, 5,000, 500,000. There's more than enough. So let's take that with us this week and start really looking at how we pay attention to our money and our finances and how generous we can be. Because what we know for a fact is that with the law of reciprocity, the law of giving and receiving, it comes back. It comes back. It comes back. I was out walking a couple weeks ago and I found a folded up envelope down by the Hearth House. And there's a couple of places in Monument near my home where they do wedding venues and stuff. And there's this folded up envelope and it was written on the outside of it, tips. And I opened it up and there's about $80 or so in there. I stopped counting after 80 because I wasn't going to keep it. And I'm looking around and I see people pulling into the parking lot behind where I had just found the money. And I walked back there and I said, hey, I heard you guys had a venue last night and I think somebody lost their tip money. And they were so excited. And they're looking at me like I just beamed down or something, which was kind of a fun feeling. But and they took it and they knew whose it was and they knew what to do with it. And it was like, and that felt so good. And I walked away and this little voice said, you just gave away $80. And the other little voice in my head said, it wasn't my $80. 3 days later, I received a check for $300 in the mail that I was not expecting, that I had not invested any time or energy in, at least in my opinion, for. Someone gifted me $300. It comes back, and it comes back multiplied. So if we're living in fear and we're afraid to let go, whether it's our love, our time, our talent, or our actual financial well-being, if we're afraid to let go, we're going to keep creating this little storm within us and within our lives that says, I'm stuck here, and the rest of the world is needing support. Food, shelter, many things, many things that we could support them by just giving. Don't set up a table in front of a store that's collecting money for what, because I'm there. I am there. I've got the debit card in my hand, whatever I need to do, because I think it's the right thing to do. I don't only think it's the right thing to do, I'm aware and I know it's the right thing to do because I get to do my part. Ernest Holmes says this: everything in nature moves in circles. What goes out must come back. Unless the seed is sown, it cannot bear fruit. There must be planting time for every harvest. We know how this works. He who gives all receives all. Who refuses to give reduces the possibility of the greater good returning to him. The seed that is planted must correspond to that which we desire in our experience. If we want more money, we must give more money. If we want more time, we must give more time. If we desire more love, we must love more. The more you give, the more is returned unto you. So this week, my intention is to just let go. Give more. Do more. Live in that place of generosity to my fellow human beings. And know that I am a contributing factor to a world that works for everyone. Please pray with me. As we just breathe into this time, this space, this place, this moment, right now, let us be reminded that Spirit is here in this very room, in whatever room we are in as we are tapping into this video, listening to this prayer. We know that God is and God is here. And that's a comforting feeling because it comforts us to know that we're not alone, that at any moment in time we can just reach out, open our hearts and our minds and speak the words connecting us to God, in God, and as God. And so I know for each and every one of us today that we are filled with the Spirit, that in this place of loving presence, we can reach out to one another in love, joy, gratitude, acceptance, well-being. And so this week as we go forward and we play with this idea of paradox and we play with all of these thoughts and things that we thought we had a handle on and we thought maybe they meant just this, we are opening up to the idea that maybe it's something else, something more. And we live in that place of beauty and love and flexibility and openness. So I know right here and right now, and I affirm that all are blessed. That all are blessed because God lives within each and every one of us. And as we walk through this week, we do so with gratitude, grateful hearts that we can reach out to Spirit anytime we need, and that Spirit is always waiting, always listening, always open. And so I know it's good and perfect. I know it is all God, and I know right here and right now that it is already alive in the mind of God. We just let it go and we let it be, as together we say, and so it is.
Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 ba 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 ba. I do believe I will receive. I have to know and then let it be free with an open mind. A little bit of time. If it serves my highest good, it will be yours and mine. I do believe we will receive. If we give it, it will come back to you and me with an open mind and a little bit of time. If it serves our highest good, it will be yours and be mine. If it serves our highest good, it will be yours and mine. If it serves our highest good, it'll be yours and mine. Bum 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 ba da 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 dum bum bum. Short and sweet.
Hello. I'm Reverend Jenn Wilde, Senior Minister for New Dawn Center for Spiritual Living. New Dawn Center is a global community, and we welcome all people, all paths, all ways of thinking, all philosophies. So know that you are welcome here, and thank you for joining our online community.